Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you're in need of a website, domain or online store, make your next move with Squarespace. Hello, so it's been a bit of a while since the last updatey kind of weekly vlog thing, so I thought whilst trying to make the bigger videos as good as they can, it'd be good to do one of these. So initially this video was meant to be a review of a new camera which I picked up, which is the Nikon 35 Ti, which is this great premium funky point and shoot, which has a crazy amount of settings and this weird analog dial on the top. However, I realised it wasn't working properly when I already had a roll loaded, so I did go out and take a few photos whilst I was on the way to the lab. Okay, so the first thing which I forgot to mention was that I was shooting a roll of Ektar, which is a film that I haven't really shot that much of. The first thing which really stuck out to me were the reds, particularly in this image where you kind of got this portion here, where it's just like, I don't know, something about that red tape on the lock, you know, the whole colour is important in colour photography. I mean, like, it's not a super interesting photo, but for some reason, just the vibrancy of the reds were just like super cool to me. This worked really great in images like this, but then when there were ones like this portrait of Milo, I just feel like his skin tones went a bit too far. It doesn't look quite natural. It looks like he's just come off a run and he's a bit sweaty. And sorry Milo, but yeah, that's just what this film does. And then the other thing which really stuck out to me was, like in this one, how saturated the blues were. It's such a crisp, lovely image. The thing that really stuck out to me when I was taking this was this reflection in the water. I've never seen water that's like portrayed clouds so clearly. The blues just amazing, and where it's kind of got the darker exposure in the water down here, it looks really, really great. Now, if you're wondering, the thing that was wrong with the camera is the aperture dial on the top in the enclosed unit. It just displays the wrong information. Like, the dial is set 2 stops further round than it should be. And now I know you could do some like mental calculation, just like -2 stops, and you'd know what you're doing, but to me I'd rather just get one that works properly. So this is going back where I got it from. So next I went to a pretty cool exhibition that's on in London at the moment, which was Jeff Wall at the White Cube. And this is one of the most amazing gallery spaces that I've ever been to. The rooms are so expansive and well lit, and it's like just such a modern, nice building. Everything about it is just like super aesthetic. The photos themselves are printed insanely large. They're gigantic. Some of them are actually 13 feet wide, and there's a triptych downstairs which is 3 13-foot wide images next to each other. This builds up a really strange experience where sometimes the things you're looking at feel like they could actually be like a window to that world. Sometimes the people are as big as they would be, and there was this one in that triptych where the trees kind of were just like the right size that this would actually be like standing in the forest. Like, it was kind of like life size, which was just a really weird sensation. I guess it's kind of like going to the cinema for the big screen and the sound and that kind of immersive experience. And this is maybe the first time where I've had that experience with photographs where they've been just that large that it feels like you really could step into them. I have to say, as cool as it was just seeing gigantic photos, the images themselves weren't my favourite. I much prefer Jeff Wall's earlier photos, and these ones just weren't really doing it for me. There was one particular image which was just bizarre, which was like a painting with someone composited into it, which was printed gigantic, and I just don't get it. It was a bit weird. But yeah, it's still definitely worth going to see. I still really enjoyed it. And then I went over to Huxley Parlour, which is really close by, and saw an exhibition of Vivian Mayer's work, which was some of her colour photos which haven't really been shown before, and they're all 35mm. I have to say, there's probably a reason why they haven't really been shown before. They're definitely not as good as the work which came out at first. And I guess that's to be expected, because it is the unseen stuff for a reason. And there definitely was some kind of like interest in seeing the evolution of her style and how it grew. But yeah, I'd just much rather see the best photos. Maybe you really like it, but to me, it was alright. And so a couple of days ago, I went to Cambridge to listen to some music that my friends have been working on. We drove around the area that they'd made the music about and where they grew up. I just took a few photos whilst we were going around on my Mamiya 7. So I shot 2 different rolls. The first one was just a roll of Portra 400, which I needed to get rid of, so I had no idea what was in my camera, and I wanted to make sure I was shooting some colour. And then the second roll, something which I'd had in my drawer forever, and it was a roll of Portra 160 NC, I believe, which is just ancient. It's probably been in my drawer for like 2 years, let alone the expiry being forever ago. So that was interesting. I rated it at 50 ISO, and it came out pretty good. So the first thing which I found interesting about this film was the comparison to that 35mm roll of Ektar. This image is really quite kind of dull and green, and then when you look at the Ektar one over the top, it's so saturated. I want to call it blue, but it's not blue, just the blue is popping. It's quite neutral, whereas when you look at these ones, I don't know, there's something about the greens. I don't know whether this was because it was slightly underexposed, maybe I metered it a bit wrong, but it's just a bit too green for my liking. I do, however, think it looks really nice, and I think like this portions of this image have really nice kind of textures going on, and I'm actually quite happy with that photo. And then the roll of Portra, I think, came out really nice. I'm really fond of this still life. It's something which I still haven't shot that much of, but I just think the dying flowers look cool, and the warmth in this image looks really great. And this one is a bit underexposed. The colours went a bit funky. I actually had to push this roll one stop to try and get a bit more extra light to take these still lifes, but I'm still quite happy with how they came out. So next up, I've got a little bit of some zine book goodness. The first one is by my friend Daragh, which is called In the Heart of Darkness. So it's a zine that he's made in Ghana, inspired by the way that death is handled there. So I believe that he went there on like a school kind of teaching trip 6 or so years ago, and he experienced the death of someone there. The way that it was handled really kind of stuck with him, because I think it's treated very differently to how it is in the UK. So inspired by that, he went back and made this amazing set of photographs, which are really, really lovely. There's really amazing pairings between the images. Just some of the compositions are really great. But also the method that it's printed just kind of stuck out to me. It's like 2 little staple back kind of floppy zines sandwiched together with some card. Yeah, it works really well. I really like it. And then, long-time friend of the show, Jack Latham, has a new book out called Parliament of the Owls. However, we did film like a whole video about this, just a kind of little chat at the opening of the exhibition that he just had, so I'll save talking about this until then, but yeah, it's definitely worth looking at. So recently I had a few occasions where I needed to present my photography to some people, and I thought it was the perfect opportunity to finally make a printed portfolio. So I picked up this 11x14 inch archival print box and some plastic print holders so that they can be handled without getting damaged, and I started making an edit of all the images which I thought were worth showing. It's a good mix between my personal projects and more of the kind of commissionable portraiture and things that I've done in the past. It was really great to kind of step back and kind of look at my photos as a whole. It's something that I'd really recommend, is just kind of like making it an edit of your greatest hits, I guess. I don't know, it's just like, it's really helpful to look at everything that you have to know where you want to go. So yeah, I enjoyed this. It's also really nice to have as well, so it's definitely something that I'd recommend doing. It definitely makes a huge difference presenting your work like this as opposed to just sending a PDF or something like that. So yeah, this was fun. And finally, I'd like to thank Squarespace again for sponsoring this video. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for building websites or shops, blogs, pretty much anything to do with building something on the internet. It's really easy to build a professional looking website, and if you're looking to build a portfolio for your photography, it's definitely a great place to do so. And like I've just built a portfolio of my photography, you also probably need a website for your photography. So if you don't have one already, definitely check out Squarespace. And what's really great is if you sign up with the code negative feedback, you'll get 10% off your order. So yeah, thank you very much to them. Thank you very much to you for watching. And next week, I don't know what video it is yet. I think it might be how photo books are printed and made, but we'll have to see about that.